clearly we know the drive that helped him get to the point of being a pro boxer, right? With his talents, with his skills and everything. But how he really transformed what we thought about boxing and how you're supposed to be a fighter. He did things a little bit differently. So let's get into this next clip and hear and see what I mean by that.
2 years into his career, the man known as Pretty Boy was a charismatic star.
Came out, you showboated a little bit earlier. You do that. That's part of your thing. Obviously, it rankled the crowd a little bit. They weren't thrilled with that.
That's what sells tickets. And I'm here to sell tickets. You know, I'm a performer. That's what I do. I sell myself.
So what's crazy to me with that is like when we think of sports, we don't necessarily think them as a, personality, right? Besides wrestling, I think, is the only one but that's really, wrestling is purely fake and a storyline anyways. But you think of basketball players, football players, baseball players, they're not really known as per se a character or a brand. I think that got famous later on, right? So he understood not only do I had to be talented and skillful in this craft, but I have to be entertaining. Especially if I want to get the money that I want, the attention that I want. He understood at a very young age, attention is what's going to bring people in, which is going to bring me more money, right? So he went a different, where some people had the good guy kind of status. He kind of went with the bad guy, flashy, confidence out to the roof, cursing out everybody, making a whole show. And even if you think about some of the ways that he did his press tours, right? Even from Pacquiao to Conor McGregor and all that stuff, they were all like mini shows, right? Why? And how he went on different press tours where other people, they didn't promote like that. There wasn't a press run for majority of the fights. I believed he was one of the very few that happened from state to state to state. Now, was there an opening press release? Absolutely. But how he did it, how he made it a tour, and how he put a show on for each and every single solitary one. There was a entrance, there was a standoff, there was commentary, there was giveaways. The press runs was an event. Like I went to the one with him and Canelo in Times Square, and
oh wow,
yeah, that was a whole vibe. De La Hoya was there and everything, but it was a show, right? And he was very good at that. I guess my question to you, Moose, is how important do you think when it comes to what you're doing, it is important to make yourself stand out from the crowd, even though you can be making great money being the normal status, right?
Yeah.
At what level do you know, I need to stand out a little bit more because I need to make more money or get more exposure or whatever that kind of looked like?
Yeah. So when you look at, and I want to take it in this direction so that it can really kind of click for those who are across various industries or verticals. When you look at traditionally how humans have learned or have been entertained, it's always been through some form of storytelling, right? There's a narrative that has been told that you're attracted, and you know that there are certain people that are going to play various characters, especially at the highest levels with professional sports. What is the root of professional sports? For the viewers, it's entertainment. It's a form of entertainment. Yes, you're passionate about it. You have a raging fan base that really is diehard fans for specific teams and their cities, but ultimately it is a form of entertainment, right? Really the ones benefiting from it feeds their financial pockets, but also their passions or their fuel because they grew up playing the game are the athletes. Mm-hmm. So when you think of it from Floyd Mayweather's standpoint and why he took on the approach that he took, you got to go back to that time when he was coming up, right? During that time, who was the prime boxer? Oscar De La Hoya, right? And you think of the storyline or the narrative around him specifically was his mother was diagnosed with cancer and unfortunately she passed. And he was the hero, at least portrayed as such, the hero who was able to go on a run for the title and win despite having to deal with those personal challenges. So automatically the fan base responded to that narrative as like, man, that's our hero. That's our protagonist. So now here comes Mayweather literally at the same exact time with the protagonist character already taken. Now, when you think of movies and the storyline, you see that the villain really gets just as much airtime as the protagonist does. Like the main character, Batman is going to get a lot of airtime, but guess what? The Joker is going to get a good amount of airtime too, because he's right there in it, or they need each other to make the movie work. So I think what Mayweather did and was very strategic, because again, this was before the information era was available. Like this was before really the internet had taken off and information and education was available for free on platforms like YouTube and Instagram and all these areas. And he has the intellect and the wisdom to say, you know what? The wittiness really, if he's going to be the good guy, I'm going to be the bad guy. And I'm going to make the bad guy cool. So that is his approach to get the airtime. And then people were going, if you think about it, they were going really to see him lose more than they were going in support of him. But who was benefiting financially at the end of the day? You know, him and his promotional company. So I think that was the unique thing that really made him different and eventually ended up getting him an opportunity to fight Oscar De La Hoya. And that was a big thing that set him apart as well. So actually, I wanted to kind of spin it back to you from, you know, a branding perspective. When we think of storytelling, narratives, main characters, do you think from your experience that this type of mentality can still be taken into industries today, right? Where you may set up your personal brand to play the role of the villain as opposed to the protagonist until you catch up to your competitors in a way. And then I'm not saying don't be the troll, right? Like I don't ever want someone. I know that's a strategy too, but I'm just saying, do you think
you played yourself?
Yeah. For real. But do you think that could be an approach taken to personal brands? Like as we're able to identify that was technically the approach that Floyd took in his success?
I think it depends on the industry. I think it definitely still could play a role with some things. To be honest with you, it plays a role in politics. To be honest with you, it definitely plays a role in sports. There's certain industries that makes it interesting with storyline. And you have to pick what character you want to be. And we already know the starring roles are normally heroes and villains, right? You don't get a starring role being a supportive cast member, you know? So within boxing, you'll get some credit being a coach, but you won't be the star, right? Yes, you can win a bunch of fights, but if you have no personality, if you don't have a storyline, if you don't have a type of personality that attracts other people, then you just look like an average fighter, regardless of how good you are, right? So I think when it comes to branding, depending on your industry, story is crucial. And how you play a part of that story is very, very important, because it shows what you can and can't do and why people look at you or maybe don't look at you or look at you just to see you go away, right? But regardless, they're looking at you. Some people are cool with that. Like, regardless what you say to me, all press is good press. Like, there's no such thing as bad press because you're talking about me, right? You cannot be talking about me, and that's when I'm a bit worried, but you're talking about me, so I'm doing something right. I got your attention somehow, some way. And some people are cool with that. Now, other people are very worried about, oh my God, what do people think about me? I don't want that kind of personality on me. I don't want that kind of look on me. So I think it really depends on who you are. What is your goals? Definitely, what is your goals? And if that kind of route is going to help you get there, and can you make a shift if you want to? Some people don't want to. Like Floyd never shifted. He was always known as the flashy guy. He was always known as the really like flamboyant, not in that kind of way, but flamboyant, flashy, always doing something that, you just want my man to lose. Like, oh my God, please be quiet. Please shut up. I can't with you. Like, somebody beat him so he can humble himself, right? But that also goes with a piece of confidence, because you're looking at it like, man, like, how can you be so full of yourself? And when you have an undefeated record, what can you tell my man? Like, and to be honest, we look at people like a De La Hoya, like a Pacquiao, Victor Ortiz, all those people that he's beat, that Cotto, who didn't have a loss on their record, who were super humble, but then they lost. So you almost think of it, and maybe just in a sports standpoint, I'm not going to necessarily say in general, but you almost think to a point like, if you're not full of yourself, are you almost setting yourself up for that loss because you're so humble? Like, I just appreciate everything, and I take all my wins very serious, and and this is for the people. And he's like, yo, I'm good. No one could beat me. I dare you to try. Look at my work ethic. But he had so many things to back it up. So to go back to your question, it does play a role. I think it can work, but you have to be careful with understanding the industry that you're in.